So, yesterday I talked a little bit about this Venezuelan illegal who killed that poor girl, a nursing student. And I talked about the brouhaha over Biden's calling him an illegal. Now, this is where Democrats just lose the American people. There was a group of people in this country, and I went online with Google to see how many, what was the response to this, screw up by Biden. And it was amazing. Just one person after another after another. How dare he refer to them as illegals? Human beings are not illegals. I talked about this yesterday. So Biden came out and he apologized for using the word illegal. To me, the issue wasn't are they people or not. If you come over to this country and you come here illegally, I don't have any problem with calling you an illegal. What's the big deal? Should I sit there and say, well, you're a human being. Let's get that straight first. You're not a sick bird, but you came over here without papers, and in doing so, you committed at least a misdemeanor. You haven't been charged and you haven't been found guilty, but coming over here without papers and without permission, and without some other means for doing so, such as seeking asylum, then you are here in violation of American law. Is that what you're required to do if you want to discuss this issue? Or is it okay to say this guy swam across the Rio Grande, came over here from Mexico, didn't seek asylum, wasn't subject to parole, and he's here illegally, so therefore I call him an illegal? Excuse me so much. This is this political correctness nonsense that just really hurts the Democratic Party. And I believe in the Democratic Party, but I don't believe in political correctness or this kind of word parsing nonsense to please I don't know whom. But it sure as hell ain't the American people. So stop it, Democrats. Can you imagine Franklin Roosevelt or John Kennedy or Harry Truman sitting here saying, well, I shouldn't have called him an illegal alien even though he came over here illegally. But in this particular instance, he wasn't an illegal. I told you about this yesterday. I wasn't sure what his status was. I suspected he had applied for asylum. Well, I've gotten some more information today, and I'm just sharing it with you because I want you, those of you who are listening, to be smarter than and better informed than the average person. The average person, of course, doesn't care about this thing, but the average person is a low information voter. But I want you to focus on the legalities so that you understand at a deeper level what's going on. These people, this guy was a parolee. Now, what that is, under immigration law, is the administration can grant somebody a temporary pass to stay here legally for something like 2 years, if for humanitarian, extreme humanitarian needs, usually meaning that if this person goes back to their home country, they're going to be shot on the spot. And this was not extended to Mexicans, but it was extended to Venezuelans, to people from Cuba, from Nicaragua, and I think some other countries in there. All of which are countries which are either communist countries or they have a lot of communist remnants, and they're run and controlled by gangs. So, and this is, again, I'm faulting the Biden administration. I'm an equal opportunity criticizer. The Biden administration wanted to appease or appeal to Venezuelan voters who have overwhelmingly gone to the Republican side. And the reason they do is because the Republicans out there, particularly Donald Trump out there, telling all these people in Miami and other places, and Cuban voters as well, oh, the Democrats are socialists. And you came from a socialist country. You came from a socialist communist country, Cuba or Venezuela. And you're fleeing that. And you're fleeing right into the hands of the Democrats with the same thing. So to counter that narrative, the Biden administration, and they're having trouble in Venezuela. Don't be wrong about that. But it's economic problems, and this parole is not intended to address economic problems. It's intended to address persecution, just like the asylum statutes. So in order to appease that and hopefully stem some of that hemorrhaging in these communities, they open their doors to Venezuelans, primary Venezuelans. but also Cubans, and said, "Hey, come on over here. You don't have to comply with all the legal niceties. We'll parole you into this country, and once you're here, you can apply for work permits and yada yada yada." So, but you have your foot in the door, and you're here. This fellow was from Venezuela. Now, incidentally, why don't we have that in Mexico? Because Mexico is not a communist country. Mexico is an ally of ours. We have a close relationship with Mexico, so we're not going to tell people, "Oh, come over here from Mexico," because if you go back, the Mexican government's going to shoot you on the spot. So we don't extend that to the Mexicans. It's politics. So this fellow was here on parole, which means he was not here illegally. He was not illegal. He was not an illegal alien. He was legal because he was here under parole. And that was the mistake Biden made. It wasn't a question of, well, he came over here illegally and he shouldn't have called him that. Yeah, if he had come over here illegally, he should have called him that. He didn't come over here illegally. He came over here on parole, which meant he was here legally and was entitled to be here. So he wasn't an illegal that was let in here. Now, if you want to change that program, that's fine. But altogether, the total amount that I've been able to tell of people coming in from this assortment of countries, not just Venezuela, is around 30,000. Well, that sounds like a large number, but when you compare it to the millions that have come over here, it's an insignificant percentage. And this guy happened to be an insignificant percentage of an insignificant percentage. He was a bad person. Bad things happened. So that doesn't mean the program was wrong. That doesn't mean all the people who came in here on parole, who aren't criminals, who didn't commit crime, that they should be tarred with the same brush, which is what the Republicans are doing, because they always do that. They're trying to paint people with the same brush. So they did that with communism all during the 50s, and I remember it well. It's one of the reasons I'm so angry about the Republican Party. I saw it with the House Un-American Activities Committee. I saw it with Joe McCarthy. Tail gunner Joe was never in a plane in his life. And my dad had to dig his tail gunner out of the back of his plane after they were shot by German pilots, and this guy's body was riddled with machine gun bullets. Every time I heard tail gunner Joe in the 50s bragging about his war record, I remember my dad just being so disgusted because of his experience. He was the bombardier navigator, and he was the ranking officer in his entire squadron, and how sickened he was at having to pull this poor kid out of from behind his machine gun. And then he heard this tail gunner Joe McCarthy running around. That in those days, the most prominent, the most sought after Republican speaker in the country. Don't forget that, you Republicans with short memories. Oh, you weren't alive then. Okay, that hurts. Since when is being alive and having experience and having learned a bunch of stuff from having witnessed it, when is that a negative? I guess if you're Joe Biden, it's supposed to be a negative. But I don't want to go there because I'm a little sensitive about the age thing myself. I'm approaching my 115th birthday, as many of you know, and I hope there's a big party. But not too, extravagant, because at my age I could have a heart attack and there goes the party, right? Yep, I know the rest of you would party on because that's the kind of people my friends are. The few that I have left, the ones who haven't died. Oh, that's really sad. How did I get off on that subject when I was talking about a nice, uplifting subject like illegal immigration and murder committed by illegal immigrants? Well, on that note, have a happy Sunday. I promise I'll probably come back later today with something which is more uplifting. I can't think of anything right now. But if I do, I promise I'll be back.